You guys want to get rid of Joe Manchin? Yeah, me too. So let's talk to a guy who's trying to make that actually happen. Stephen Smith is the co-chair of West Virginia Can't Wait. He's a former West Virginia gubernatorial candidate, and he's now helping to push replacejoemanchin.com. Stephen, welcome back to the program.
So good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, Stephen, here you don't have to explain why we want to get rid of Joe Manchin. Everybody already agrees. Okay, so the question is how? So help me understand how replacejoemanchin.com is going to get him out of office.
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Because the real problem here is we have to replace a machine, not one man. That behind Joe Manchin are those corporate lawyers and financiers, the big pharmaceutical companies. And so we don't pretend that one politician is going to come around and save us from Joe Manchin, one other politician. What you do at replacejoemanchin.com is you log on. We hope you'll make a donation, but that donation isn't going to go to one race in 3 years. It's going to go to the long-term infrastructure building a machine of volunteer firefighters and nurses and educators, of wage workers throughout West Virginia that can take on the machine that's been putting us down. The other thing you can do at replacejoemanchin.com is nominate someone you want to see run, or nominate yourself to run. That, as you know, West Virginia Can't Wait is a movement to win a people's government in West Virginia. And so if you're a working class person that wants to get involved in your community, in your workplace, or if you want to put your own name on the ballot, we're here to help. And this is it. This is what it's going to take. There's no silver bullet. Manchin himself is a symptom, not the disease, and we have to get at the disease.
So I remember talking to you about West Virginia Can't Wait, and I thought that it was actually really similar to the idea that we had with Justice Democrats at the national level, which is the only way to beat a machine is with another machine, and that you can't do it one person at a time. It's like charging against the cavalry with just one person. I know Jon Snow did it, but even he didn't do it. He actually had backup come and support him eventually, and that's why they won. And in fact, he had 2 rounds of backup come and support him. And so I love the idea overall, but let's talk mechanics a little bit more, because if there's one thing the American people love, it's mechanics. So how would it, actually, let me back up, because in order to understand how you're going to do it in the future, you kind of have to know how you did it in the past. So I know you ran for governor, you lost narrowly in the primary, but many other candidates from your slate did win. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot that people get wrong about West Virginia, right? One of the things you hear all the time is that we vote against our own interests, or that this is the best we can do. And we looked at that criticism. We looked at the corporate leadership of both parties in West Virginia and said, enough. We want to not keep going up to that Capitol and trying to persuade those in power. We want to replace them. And so from 2018 to 2020, we built a campaign and then an organization that could build lasting political power. Here's what that means, right? We went out and we built a platform not by poll testing or talking to a bunch of political consultants. We did 197 town halls across West Virginia before the coronavirus hit, asking people what would make a difference in your or your family's lives. And we built that platform, a people's platform. We also put together a pledge. We said, what would it take for us to support a candidate that was really on the side of the people? And we wrote this pledge and said, if you pledge not to take corporate cash, never to cross a picket line, never to hide from a debate, never to punch down, right? Never to blame the people who are hurting for their pain. If you promise those things and you're willing to work door to door, neighbor to neighbor, then you can be a part of our slate. And 101 candidates took that pledge. We recruited, trained, and supported 101 candidates in our first election. We've added a few more this year in off-year elections. And of course, most of those people lost, not because they weren't great candidates, but because we were just getting started and we're up against 2 political machines that have been around for hundreds of years. But we think 101 candidates is a pretty damn good start. And we think 15 people in office, which is what we have now across West Virginia, some Democrats, but also independents, Republicans, all of whom are working on the side of working class people, that's a real start. And if we can do that in 2 years, starting from nothing, imagine where we'll be in another 2 years and another 2 years. This is generational work, and we're inviting folks from around the country to be a part of it. And we think it's pretty exciting.
So let me tell you something, 15 candidates out of the 8 is awesome. So you shouldn't be worried about the 101. Hopefully you make it 201. I don't care if it's 201 and 18 win. Who cares? That means you got 3 more guys in, right? And I remember first cycle in 2018 for Just Democrats, we had 71 candidates and only 4 won. But it was a pretty good 4. Right, that was AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley. And then obviously more came after Marie Newman, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, etc. And then there's the incumbents. So that's how you build a machine to fight the corrupt one. And we had the same rule, no corporate PAC money. And so that naturally comes out of any conversation with the grassroots. So now you've got to convince Republicans or conservatives in West Virginia, right? You can't just go to progressives or people who identify as progressives and be able to win a state level. So when you're talking to conservatives in West Virginia, what's usually most appealing about the message you guys have?
Thanks for this question, because this is one of the things that we wrestle with a lot, and one of the things that often gets said about our work is that what we are building is some kind of challenge from the left, right? This isn't a challenge from the left. What we're offering is a challenge from the bottom, a challenge from the people. That politics in West Virginia has never been left versus right. That is a joke. It's a ruse, a game played by the powerful to make it seem like we have real choices. What we're doing is gathering people from all across the political spectrum, and mostly people who don't identify with either party, and saying we can do this ourselves. So to answer your question, the message we deliver to conservatives, Republicans, libertarians is almost not a message at all. We don't think our job is to go in there wagging our fingers and telling West Virginians what they should care about or what should matter to them. They've already seen that for generations from politicians. Instead of telling people what they need or what they should vote for or how they should do their business, we ask, right? When we built that platform, those 197 town halls were listening sessions. We did 11,000 additional one-on-one conversations with voters. That in our conversations, we aren't selling something. We're inviting people in. We're saying, what would it make a difference in your family's life? And then we point to our platform and say, you know what? That thing you just mentioned, it's right here, right? Whether it's full cannabis legalization, whether it's broadband as a public utility, whether it's shifting police dollars away from policing people for being poor and sick and black to instead policing corporate crime and political corruption, whether it's getting money and lobbyists out of politics. These are things that we find attract people from all different backgrounds, and we knew they would because that's what people told us.
Yeah, and look, if you strip the party labels away, I know because I've seen the polling on the issues, including in West Virginia, tons of conservatives agree with our positions. Or you could, by the way, they're right to say you agree with our positions. So for example, the position we all agree on is anti-corruption. The only people who don't agree on it are the giant corporations that run this country, including the media corporations. They never talk about corruption, and the politicians who they bribe. So that is a great unifying element in the country, but it never breaks through because the media is the one that's the bottleneck on it. They love the corruption, so they don't like to, they're the ones who do the ruse about the left versus the right in the first place. So I love the effort that you're doing. So in the time that we have left then okay, replacejoemanchin.com, people go, you get involved in this process and maybe you even run, etc. But then eventually, who runs against Manchin? How do you guys select that? What happens to actually replace him?
Yeah, it's a great question. First, no one knows what he's running for or whether he'll run in 2024. That's one of his tricks, right? He likes to keep as much leverage as possible. That's why we have to start now. And what we're doing is there's a team of people inside West Virginia Can't Wait who's already starting to have conversations about 2024. The nice thing about running our own machine is that we have a bench. Neither party was building a bench of anti-corporate candidates, so we went and built our own. That means we've got 110 people who have had the experience of running. We can look to them and see where they might run. We can look to people who haven't run before. And the only shot we have in 2024, whether that's challenging for a Senate seat or a gubernatorial seat or any other statewide office or congressional office, is if we do that machine politics right now. And that includes recruiting candidates for lower office that can eventually challenge at higher office. So there's no easy answer. There's no one person who's going to save us. We really believe that, but we're going to make that decision collectively. And if I'll say just one more thing, one of the ways that starts is by running slates in local government. And anybody can do this across the country. If you're not sure how, you can always be in touch with us. We're easy to reach online. My cell phone is 304-610-6512. We always want to help people pick up and lead wherever they are. And that's what we're doing in localities in West Virginia for 2022 to gear up for 2024 is running slates of candidates together, city councilors and county commissioners running together, pooling resources, and involving people in the political process who are normally excluded, whether that means street outreach to people who are houseless, or just last month, we sent 400 handwritten letters to people living in the regional jail here in Charleston, inviting them to be a part of the process. What would you want in your city government? And that's the hard work. That's how we win, because there is a growing majority, not a slim minority of leftists or intellectuals, but a growing majority of people in West Virginia who are tired of getting kicked in the teeth and don't care whether the boot on our necks is blue or red. If you're interested in joining us, we're always looking for all the help we can get, and we're easy to find.
All right, Stephen Smith from West Virginia Can't Wait and ReplaceJoeManchin.com. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.